Well, welcome guys. Today there was a patch. It is Tuesday, of course, so there's updates coming in. This one's really cool. First of all, it touches on several of the changes that came last release with the legendary upgrades and refines those in some important ways you'll see. But also, there's some new stuff. New PvP map is available, some new skins are available, and it feels very Living World Season 1-y. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, they've snuck in some mysterious NPCs that definitely seem to be hinting at what's coming next with the story, which we're all obviously really looking for, especially considering the announcement on the 30th that's coming up. It feels very, very good. So I can't wait to run through all of this with you guys. And I guess we'll do it in the devs order. Probably the better way to handle it than anything else. So let's roll on in, see what the wiki has to say. First of all, we've got two updates here saying about the legendary item acquisition oriented achievements. And since legendary runes and sigils in the game, they've updated the text of those just to clarify that, you know, that they're not really affected by that, which is fine. But the first substantial change that we care about here is that the customized window now has a search bar to filter options by name, and the options on the right side are now sorted alphabetically, and upgrades in shared inventory slots can now be used in the customized window. The customized window no longer prompts for confirmation unless a slotted upgrade is about to be destroyed, and they fixed a bug, but sometimes preventing recustomizing a slotted legendary rune or sigil. So housekeeping for this, like, let's be real, pretty bad UI that came in on the last patch. So I never actually showed it in my video. Here, I'll give you guys a demonstration with this backpack, okay? This backpack. So this is the Ascended backpack that you get from, like, the third Living World release this season. I just picked it up the other day. We can right-click customize. Here's the new window, right? And we have talked about this. We talked about it with the preview and how horrendous this is. You know, it's just this huge list that we have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And many of us were hoping this was work in progress and that it would be different come release, but obviously that never ended up happening. Well, at least now it is alphabetical. So apothecaries and assassins and berserkers at the top. Thank God berserkers pretty high up here. And then you kind of are going to have a general gist of where you want to go. Like if I want to put zealots in, I'm just going to click this bar and drag it to the bottom, because I know zealot starts with Z, is going to be all the way down here, and the vipers is going to be really low down, and so on. So it's a little bit better, but I mean, as more expansions come out and stuff, if you're looking to slot marshals, right, or minstrels, or marauder, yeah, have fun with that, because you're always going to be, like, eyeing it a little bit here if you're using the scroll bar. My best suggestion for this, I still think, if you're not going to emulate the PvP panel, is that these should just say the name of whatever it is, and what these stats do shouldn't be on display until you mouse over it. So it should just say apothecary, and then assassins is the next line, and then berserkers is the next line, and then berserkers and valkyrie. Even do it like a grid or whatever, and then you mouse over and it gives you the stats, which is pretty much how the PvP panel does things, right? And, you know, the same for runes and the same for sigils and all of those things. But the devs have done it alphabetical now, that's one thing. But also, more importantly, if I want Marauder, I'm probably going to be typing Marauder up into the text, the search field up there, and then going from there. So these are important updates. No more billions of confirmation prompts is nice as well. And hey, who knows how important this will all really feel once the big build template system that they talked about in the April 2nd blog post will end up coming into the game. But hey, for now, there you go. So those are updates that I think people will be very much looking for and go some way to resolve some of the issues with that UI. Next, we've got some changes to Fractals. I'm not actually going to log in on Fractals because I don't think there's any reason to for these changes, but we'll run through them. First, the aquatic ruins. So the paths will now rotate on a daily basis instead of being random. So, you know, you go into aquatic and it's like a double fractal, really, isn't it? You can either go left or you go right, the dark path, or you go through the dolphin transformation. Well, now you're going to know exactly which one it is purely based on the day rather than it being random. I guess people didn't like that, so there you have it. Adjusted the position and number of crate prisoners to reduce backtracking. Adjusted the skills used in the dolphin path and the deep path. Not sure exactly what they're doing here. I'm guessing just to round out the experience a bit. Added champions to guard the gates leading to the boss room. So what this will mean is when we finish the dolphin run or whatever, we actually have to kill something to trigger that checkpoint to get to the jellyfish boss. Or same with the the dark room. So I think what the devs didn't like about this fractal, and the same thing you'll see here, I think this change here, is they probably didn't like that just one dude had to make it, right? That you could carry people through with one guy, and everyone else would just slash GG, get themselves killed, and then you'd all respawn. So by adding this guy, they're essentially saying the majority of your group needs to get through to kill the champion, to then trigger the checkpoint so that anyone who died along the way can now respawn. Or, you know, you're going to have a lot of work to carry and solo that champion at the end. They also say added new boss mechanics to the Jellyfish Beast encounter, which is good because the Jellyfish Beast, under today's power creep and whatnot, is so boring of a fight, right? Nobody drags it around to the electric cages or anything like that. We just go in and burst it down. So I'm curious what they're thinking of there. If these new mechanics kind of reinvigorate that cage idea from back in the day or its original release, I kind of like the thought. But then it never was that fun dragging it around to the cages, so maybe just ignoring that altogether might be fun too. Anyway, there you have it. They also have changes to Molten Furnace. They accelerated the drill speed to reduce idle time. Huzzah! Look, I'm pretty sure everyone who regularly fractals is going to be over the moon with this change. So this is the fractal where we're following the drill as it slowly progresses through, and then you slowly have to wait for all the steam walls, and then you slowly have to wait for the weapons testing. So one of the slowest feeling fractals out there, just because you're standing around so much. So the drill moves quicker. Lovely. Revamped the thermal core section, that's the weapon testing bit, to be more interactive. So again, like mostly we just stand around and reflect shields or like jumping shockwaves, and then you DPS the core for a second and you move on. So this is good. They've actually updated 2 fractals that I really think were candidates, especially this one. You know, when we were looking at the world where they kept completely reworking fractals, I was always saying this fractal here with the drill and whatnot was probably one of the highest on the list to just be completely reworked. But they've done these significant changes here, which I quite like. And then the boss at the end, you know, was just this guy that melts against the wall. Apparently has new mechanics too. They've been vague about it to make people get in game and play. So that's nice. Then also you've got Solid Ocean. After you kill the Jade Maw, you're revived. So that's kind of nice. Looking over at the item section, they've just got a couple more updates revolving around, you know, the new customization stuff. So Legendary Rune has had the Antitoxin, Durability, Rebirth, Altruism, Nature's Bounty, Stars all added as options. Now, I think these were all missed by the original release, and I think what they all have in common is that they are crafted, aren't they? Don't you drop Antitoxin recipes and Durability recipes, and then you have to craft them? So now and maybe the devs missed them for that reason. I could be wrong on this though. Isn't Rune of the Stars a festival related one? But hey, anyway, they've been added. Elite Specialization runes have been reordered in the selection panel. The recipe for the Settlers imbued Auric Alchemy infusion no longer drops for players who've already got it. And the recipe for the Settlers Gossamer Insignia also no longer drops if you've already got the recipe. So you have it. That's most of the changes. Then we move into some balance stuff. Now, I still want to show you guys in a video some of the new animations. We're not on a thief right now, right? But obviously you have all the new preparations and things, and they look very fancy. Still want to do that. I want to get together with Boots and run down with that with you guys. I haven't had a chance to do like that second balance with Boots that we wanted to do just yet. But there are some pretty minor tweaks this patch, so don't feel like you're, you know, really missing out on this here. So check it out. First of all, Strength of Stone for the Elementalists updated the description and skill facts to clarify that bleeding can only occur once every 3 seconds per target. Okay, so this is the new update, which meant that whenever you immob someone, you bleed them. And they're trying to say, look, it's got like an interval, but that's... You can... If you apply the bleed on one target, you won't be able to do it on that same target for 3 seconds, but other people you can, all right? Other targets will. You know, it's one of those kinds of ICDs. Looking over at Mesmer, obviously Chronomancer had a lot of changes, and some stuff, almost inexcusably so, was like broken. Continuum split, fix an issue that could cause a small delay between activating the skill and its effect occurring. I didn't know about this, but this seems pretty horrendous, right? Because remember, if you're a Chrono now, Continuum split, when you hit F4, that's your distortion. So you don't want to press F4 and not get distort for a period of time, right? You want that to be responsive as possible. So yeah, but look at this, Signet of Illusion. So this is the Signet that when you activate it, well, passively it will just spam clones for you and fuel for shatters. And then when you activate it, it recharges all your shatters, right? So you should be able to distort, Signet of Illusions, distort again and like extend your invuln or whatever. Well look, it didn't do it for any Chrono shatters. Not a single one. Unbelievable. You got to remember that it already doesn't work for continuum split. They don't want you double rewinding time. That's like ultra disabled. So you'd only get it from 3 potential shatters, and those are broken too. Nuts. Next, chaotic interruption. They're saying has been disabled in PvP only. That's actually true already. In fact, let's swap over and have a look here. It was already true that chaotic interruption had been disabled. This was a trait that gave many Condi Mesmers insane might generation. If you watched my previous video about balance, you will have seen I talked about this. It gave them insane might generation and also crazy immobilization lockdown. And it kind of became very flavor of the monthy and very oppressive. So the devs disabled it a while ago now. Its functionality was removed, but this is what they've done. As you can see, if you look now, when we mouse over it, as of this patch, the tooltip has updated too. See, for the past couple of weeks, a lot of Mesmers could have been running this trait and thinking it was working because there was no evidence on the user interface that anything had changed. And it just, it wasn't doing anything from them in matches, and they might not have been very observational players, and they might not have realized that they were basically missing a Grandmaster trait. Grandmaster traits are huge, and to run in with a build without one is a big mistake, really. But a lot of people were doing it because the UI hadn't updated. As of this patch down now, this is kind of nice. Check it out. It says disabled down there at the bottom. I wonder whether we'll see the devs utilize this technique of actually striking disabled like that way on other stuff in the future. Well, how would you guys feel about that? Hot fixes and quick patches that just temporarily disabled wholesale traits like this. People accused ArenaNet of being lazy for this, but I think it's because their next big idea for chaotic interruption, the way that they phrased it, their comment on the forums, actually involves a lot of interrupt-oriented stuff all over the Mesmer profession. And so rather than doing like a lot of work on a mini change for chaotic interruption that's only going to change again with their big interrupt thing later, they just want to disable it in the interim, so they did. And as lazy as you can accuse the devs of being, the game is way better since this has been removed, right? It has been way better in the past 2 weeks. It's just, I guess this is a bit of housekeeping to actually show disabled there. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty nice and good to see. Over on Ranger, they fixed a bug that prevented merge soul beasts from remerging automatically whenever they dismounted. That's fine. Fixed a bug on Entangle that meant that the Ranger damaged themselves when using the skill. I know that sounds hilarious, but that's actually been a bug in the game for all kinds of weird interactions for so long, it doesn't surprise me even remotely. Okay, so moving over to Thief, we obviously have the new preparations. One of them was Shadow Portal. So Shadow Portal is you drop the preparation at a location, and then at any point over the next minute, you can activate that location and create a portal between the two places. You're basically like a mini Mesmer. The Thief portal like lasts longer and is really good in a lot of ways, but provides a bit of stealth. But it's only one player can use it in one direction, right? So it's very much like a mini Mesmer. Mesmer's portal kind of doesn't work in PvP anymore since they nerfed the duration on it so significantly. But so now they say this, that the preparation now displays an icon to the Thief indicating how much time they have to create their shadow portal. So I want to dig into a bit of the wording on this, but here, if we have a look, we've got shadow portal on our Thief right here. I'm going to create it, and you notice I now get this buff on my bar, which I can mouse over. That actually lingered over a minute at the start there, didn't it? That's interesting. But, I can read that countdown and know how long I've got left to gain the benefit of this, to gain the stealth, to, do the decap, to do whatever I need to do. Another really tangible actual benefit of this, as the Thief, is sometimes you want to recreate the portal, and you want to know how long you've got before you're even allowed to. When this will actually flip back, and so now you know as well. So this is what's kind of interesting. This is an active effect on me, right? The patch notes say on to the Thief. The Thief gets that information, but it's an active effect, so I'm pretty sure other people can see this as well, and that's an important thing, to know that the Thief has the portal prepared somewhere and might instantly dip out. That's going to augment how aggressive you go on that Thief, right? Or your understanding of what his capabilities are. Basically, any Thief with this buff on him shouldn't die, really, because they can, it's flipping back through. It's a stun break, right? And an instant stealth bailout, right? So anyone with that buff, that he has like a free escape, right? In theory, unless he's just prepared his portal next to him, which you've seen and stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Mesmer had that treatment too, so now Thief gets it as well. And that's just a little bit of quality of life on there. Also, probably the most important change comes for Thief, this bottom one down here, Deadly Ambition. Fixed a bug that could cause this trait to activate multiple times on the same target without going cooldown. All right. So this is a bug, and I'm glad the devs called this a bug, because to me, everything about this read as a bug. So this was a really abusive bug that I actually was taking a bit of advantage of, I must admit. So Deadly Arts had this new trait here, Deadly Ambition, or the update to it, right? Which is you inflict poison when you strike a foe, and you'll notice there's actually a ton of poison on there. It's 3 stacks of poison. That's because I've also got the Potent Poison Grandmaster, right, which buffs these. But still, even without the GM, it's 2 stacks, right? But what this means, you put any packet of damage on a target, and it should have a 5-second ICD, so it's just that 3 poison, and then it will roll off, right? Just that 3 poison, I say. It's insanely strong anyway. But if you used any skill that did multiple packets in one shot, all of them would apply the poison. The ICD wasn't working, and namely that worked for Cluster Bomb. So I could literally Cluster Bomb you with that trait, just this. It's nothing more intelligent than just Cluster Bombing. And I would put like 13 poison on you. I'm not joking. Like 13 to 15 poison. Just for landing a cluster bomb. As long as my ICD was off. Absolutely insane. You know, that's before we even talk about choking gas and stuff. Like, here I have 2 short bows on my build. Because I was messing around in unranked playing a pure short bow build. Just because you could annihilate people with cluster bomb Deadly Ambition. That has now been fixed. And I'm really happy with that. So, we're going to move away from balance now and look a little bit at some PvP stuff. Which is revolving around 2v2. So, I've actually had a couple of people ask me, you know, why 2v2s? Are we not done with 2v2s? Some people, let's be clear, are still very excited about it. And I think as long as the devs keep running automated tournaments like Dwayne's duos, people will continue to be excited about 2v2s. But if you guys remember, a long time ago, the devs had a thread. They still have it on the forums talking about, like, their roadmap for PvP, stuff they want to put into PvP. They're very resource-starved area of the studio that takes a long time to implement stuff, but it's been on their list for a long time that they wanted to do some 2v2 maps, and they weren't done with the Asura Arena. If you look at one of my previous videos about the updates coming into the game, you will have seen I did a whole look over at the Asura Arena, and they had an idea for another one even back then. So now it's arrived, okay? So I don't really think you can criticize the devs for continuing to add 2v2 maps long after you personally became uninterested in it. This to me is just the conclusion of their initial plan, and it takes a long time because that particular area of the studio is resource starved. But here it is. So it's the Auric span. Now, I have never been into this map. I want to do it live with you guys on the video. So let's just read what the devs say. A new 2v2 map, Auric span, has been added to the custom arenas. Select, similar to the Hall of the Mist, which is one of the 2v2 maps, and Asura Arena. At the end of the match, healing and stealth gets disabled. Damaging areas will start to form on the map, shrinking the playable space. So a third and possibly final, I don't know. I'd be happy if it was the final, 2v2 map. So they actually now have, like, a pretty substantive secondary game mode to Conquest, right? You've got, like, Murder Ball for Courtyard, but that's only one map. You've got Stronghold on, what's the map, the name of the map that Stronghold's on? But anyway, that's only got one map. And now we have 2v2s, which actually have 3 maps. So let's check it out. Auric Span, here it is. Now, it's called Auric Span. I'm really excited about this because I've wanted a PvP map themed around Heart of Thornsy Megumari stuff for ages, and it looks like they have done it. Okay, wait, so we'll run around actually in the map here. So 2v2 maps tend to be quite small, right? Because they're just for 2v2. Oh, it's gorgeous. Look at it. So this is pretty cool. Is it one of the larger maps? Like, what have they done here with the terrain? Let's see. Oh my god, do you know what? I thought for a second that the fight was going to be along the bridge in the middle here. And I was going to say, this reminds me very much of an old Halo map I very much enjoyed. Damn, this is really nice. So look, you can see pretty far away as well. So a lot of the fighting will be in this central area. Feels very cluttered. Lots of kiting that you can do here. Can we jump down, climb up? We can. That's interesting. Can we climb all the way up onto this? Slight advantage for that side, possibly then. Especially, can they walk on it from down? They can. So wait, if you're on the red team, you actually have 2 different entry points, I guess. Oh, look, they've actually shaded. So this one's got blue above this door. This one's got red above this door. Oh, look, you got the big waterfall up there. God damn, I love it when they add new PvP maps. They're always so exciting to me. Even if they're kind of small, you know, and even if they're pretty simple, basic little ideas. Is there full damage? Can I drop off? There's not full damage. You can't be CC'd over the edge. I think that's a good move. We've already seen with Skyhammer that people aren't that interested in that. It would have been a kind of a weird flavor to put onto a 2v2 map, right? People running Banish, right? Like, you try and kite on this because there's no port, potentially. Yeah, it is. It's no port. And then someone knocks you over the edge. That would be kind of funny. Ah, this is nice. I really like this. Let's go into spectate as well here. And, oh god, what keybind do I have to D-shift? Okay, it was X. Oh, this is gorgeous, isn't it? I love using the spectate camera to pull right out and just see, like, how much detail they've put elsewhere. Oh, dude. ArenaNet should... Look, they've even got, like, the portal kind of thing there. The, like, map portal. The ArenaNet should be the kind of studio that adds Easter eggs, like, way out in the distance in places like this. This obviously is not playable terrain. This isn't relevant. It's just backing. But, oh, what an incredible map. And, yeah, we got kind of a Heart of Thorns. It's not actually the jungle aesthetic I was expecting, which I think I'm fine with. I would like a full-fledged Conquest map, you know, that's quite large, that is very, very jungly. I guess Courtyard kind of feels a little bit like that, but obviously isn't Conquest. We saw through data mining that Courtyard once upon a time started as a Conquest concept. But, yeah, so there you go. So that's the third map, and I really hope that sometime soon in the future, we'll see another tournament come up. This month's monthly for Conquest actually never triggered. The devs said that they're having some issues. So there actually wasn't a Cormier's Clash this month. I'd like to see if we get a Dwayner's Duos, though, that has us rolling through all 3 of the 2v2 maps. And don't forget, guys, the point of entry for a 2v2 team is very low. You just need you and then one friend in the whole world, and you can see whether you can give it a shot. So, yeah, that's a nice little change. There is some other stuff for PvP as well, though, so let's stay on that section. They say here that the Mist Lord's weapon set has been added. You can preview and purchase the weapons from the Ascended Weapon League vendor in Heart of the Mists, and that the weapons are also available from the tournament vendor. So, you know, you could go to the lobby. I'll come up here. We had last year a selection. I'll just quickly go to my bank to remind you guys. We had the Obsidian stuff, right? And this came to both World versus World and PvP. So you had the baseline Obsidian stuff, and then you could upgrade it to the Mistforged, right? And there were like the shiny versions when wielded, and then there were the non-shiny versions here, as you can see, right? So that's the shiny one. And depending on what team you're on, it changes color, right? So if you're red team, it looks red. If you're blue team, it looks blue. I think if you take it into PvE and the guild halls, and you join the green team, it might go green. I'm not actually 100% confident on that one, though. And then, obviously, we have the full set, right? So, this was a huge sync. This was, like, all my PvP and gameplay, which was a good amount last year. I'm coming up on my 10,000th win soon. And a good chunk of that was last year, right? Was collecting these and spending a ton of the currency, right? Since then, though, we've had nothing to work on. So, like, my currency's built back up. And the devs have dropped a new set in. Last year, they did it incrementally, right? It was like a couple of weapons, and then a couple of weapons, and a couple of weapons. Each patch, there are a few more that you'd build. This time, though, it seems that they've thrown them all in at once. So, let's have a look here. So, it's not this character. Oh, that's the League vendor. Sorry, so Ascended Weapons. So, I believe we should have... Here, check it out. So, Mistforged. And then Mist Lords. Check it out. There was also a thing on the forums about picking what these would be called, if you guys remember. So they went with Mist Lords here. So Mistforged, Mist Lords. God damn. So there's not so many variants of this set. But here they are available. And they're like very golden. I believe one of the first ones that the devs showed off, people weren't particularly impressed. They didn't think they looked that good. But then when more skins came out, people started to enjoy them a bit more. This is kind of the more Guild Wars 1-y style kind of skin. It's not ridiculously shiny. They're actually kind of believable weapons. I'll go for all of them just because I have more than enough currency for the full set. Like, look at that hammer. It looks so good. Just because I have more than enough currency for the full set. So that's weaponsmithing. Let's move on over to Huntsman here. And, you know, I kind of want to get everything. But how you subjectively feel about them, obviously I'm not going to dictate. It'll be interesting to see what you guys think about this in the comments. They feel kind of rounded and, you know, they're not very angular to me. They're not very sharp feeling. They're not very, you know, dangerous looking, let me put it that way. But they do feel like the kind of thing, if you wanted to roleplay as like a king or something in the game, you'd maybe go for that. So this is the new focus. I like the focus, like the face there. And so there you go. That's the selection of skins. So a huge amount. The thing I like most about this is just, you know, it's an economy sync for me. It's something to throw a ton of my Ascended shards on. So it's 400 shards per item. You know, I got 13,200. Oh, that'll be a good dip down on that. And hopefully people like the fact that the full set came in at once this time, as opposed to little drip drops, which I think people weren't happy with last time. I was alright with it because it just meant I constantly had new goals every patch that came out. But, you know. Some people want it all at once. Moving on, they got a section for World versus World. Misc weapons got added there too. Commanders can now choose to make their squads private. So this snuck in on a release a while ago. And then got removed because the devs weren't ready for it, didn't want to talk about it. This option will make their commander tag invisible on the map, but it will still show up for squad mates. Commanders who keep their squad public get an extra 3 pips per tick. So you could, so this is kind of weird to me. And I'm not sure whether I'm misinterpreting this, but doesn't this do a very strange thing to World versus World? In that if I want to grind pips now, isn't it better for me to tag up, and worse, to public tag up? So aren't we just going to see a bunch of randoms who are in World versus World just for their rewards, like, you know, the backpack and whatever else, just as that's the only reason I'd want to go into World versus World, who are tagging up just for the pip bonus? Is that how that works, or is it people in the squad with the public tag all get the bonus pips, right? I hope it's the latter of those two categories, but the text doesn't really seem to suggest it, because that could be really bad for World versus World. That would essentially be a place where all the randoms, all the pugs are highlighting where they are with tags, but the actual place to be doesn't have one at all, because that's the tryhards, and they're all keeping their squad private. So it's all just very strange to me. As someone who doesn't World versus World that much, my commentary will probably end there, but I'd love to see what some more dedicated World versus Worlders are thinking about that. But there you have it. You can make it invisible, and I know people have wanted that for a long time. Then we have a big section on Black Lion, which I guess you guys can pause and have a look at for yourself if you like. There's a new selection of dyes that have come into the game, and you know, you might want to pick up quickly before they get way too pricey. A couple of new skins, like Bringer Blade Sword skin, Noble Courtier outfit, and so on. But what I'm really interested in is skipping over the... Oh, by the way, the other one that I really like the look of is that... a couple of mounts came back. The Hummingbird came back. And I never got that last time, and I'm thinking of going for it. I don't know. Anyway, we're skipping over that to look at, finally, Guild Wars 2 Wiki notes. Now, check this out. Private squads work in PvE. The build number is this, but look at this. Suspicious travelers have been added to various zones in the Shiver Peak Mountains. So, I'm not exactly sure where these guys have appeared just yet. The patch is only a couple of hours old, but people have been scrabbling around to find them. This is very Living World Season 1. Look at this. These are suspicious travelers that have been dropped into various maps. Frostgorge Sound, Lornar's Pass, the Wayfarer's Foothills. So look, apparently one's at Twinspur Haven. So let's go to Twinspur Haven. The reason I actually started this video on my Norn here is because I was anticipating going back to the Shiver Peaks on my Norn to find this guy. So Twinspur in the Wayfarer Foothills. Let's see. So Wayfarer... Twinspur is the central area. This is where I was thinking it was. With the crafting stations and the discipline training areas. So, Mysterious Stranger should be somewhere around here. Now, I don't know. Do they wander around? Looks like there's some players up on this wall here. So, maybe this is his location. Why would people be randomly hanging around next to this here? Yeah, here he is. Here he is. Here he is. And look, people are talking about the story. Okay, so there's this guy. Now, as we... listen carefully. I'm going to shut up, guys. Listen to my client, okay? As we walk close to the character. We start hearing whispers. We start hearing the influence of something. We start hearing that something is maybe quite strange. Now, there's a lot of work going on in the community right as I speak, as I do this video, where people are taking this audio and reversing it and stretching it and compressing it, just trying to see if they can turn it into actual words. And people are beginning to think that there might be a hidden message in that. But the suspicious traveler actually speaks too, if you stand next to him long enough. And Wiki has started to document that. Check it out. Have you heard the call? You continue to live in fear and open defiance of a greater being. But I ask you this, why fear that which can make you stronger? Why not embrace the ultimate spirit? Transcend your existence and your legend with Jormag. It's the only way. What the world has taken away from you, Jormag's blessing will return. He is not to be feared but embraced. He takes care of his own. He speaks to me. He speaks to all of us. You cannot win against the force of nature. Listen carefully and you will hear his name. Listen carefully as the whispers as you stand next to him in game. Praise Jormag. Ice fortifies, ice protects. Through Jormag, all is possible. For through him, all power flows. Give yourself to him and you will know no fear, only power. Dragon came to me in a dream. He is not the enemy, only those who oppose his will. So, You know, there's been all this stuff to do with the mist and manipulation with Jormag for a long time, if you really read between the lines. Then Morgemoth came along and kind of became like the... Oh, God, we've DC'd. Interesting. Morgemoth came along and kind of became the Elder Dragon of the mind and influence, you know, manipulating people. But there's a lot of that going on with Jormag too. And this patch seems to look, again, just as when Dragon Bash came out, we were looking at Jormag a little bit more. It feels like they're going a bit further on that with the Mist Stranger too. I think the odds of some kind of big Jormag-centric thing coming up for Season 5 for the next expansion, for all the big stuff in the future, for this August 30th announcement, has just gone way up, considering the addition of these suspicious travelers all throughout the Shiver Peaks. We might be going up to the areas around beyond the Eye of the North and stuff, guys. Returning to Jakar Lake and all that kind of fun stuff should be brilliant. So there you go. That is the patch for this release. Thanks very much for watching. I'm going to have to figure out what just happened to my internet, so we'll have to end it there. And let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you for another one very soon.